Welcome to Debating Your Dollars, where two financial advisors have two opinions with one goal in mind: to help you make sound financial decisions around your dollars and how they can work for you. All right, so United Income published a report called Retirement Solution Hiding in Plain Sight, and it talks about how retirees are making, quite frankly, bad decisions when it comes to Social Security claiming. So today, Niko, Director of Financial Planning at Hoffman Wealth Management, and me, Will Hoffman, owner and founder of Hoffman Wealth Management, are going to talk about why this is happening, what we see when it comes to the processes that our clients go through when they're making a decision, and hopefully how to correct this, because only 4% of folks are making the right decision. And Niko, I don't know if you agree with me or not. I think that's kind of an evidence that we need to be doing a better job as advisors.
Yeah, and I don't think it's specifically like our company's problem. I think all advisors would say the first person to retire, or the first thing a retiree wants to do as soon as they're eligible, is take the Social Security. Right. I don't know the rhyme or reason behind it. It's almost like a sense of security. It's like that security blanket that you can go to bed with at night, but at the same time, they're leaving, like the report says, trillions of dollars on the table, not individually, but as a whole.
And I think it comes from, one, that age has been moving out and out and out. You know, the claiming age used to be 65, and now it's 67. So there's a natural, maybe impatience that folks have. Why do I have to keep waiting longer? I think that folks look at it and say, I'd rather use Social Security's money than mine and allow mine to defer. We could go on and on and on about how that sweet spot in retirement can be very useful for improving your lifetime tax planning.
Yeah.
But today we just want to talk about Social Security.
I think half of the problem is, like, the American dream is not retiring at 67. And that's when Social Security says the American dream is retire at 67.
Sure.
And I think it also goes back to a little bit of, like, their parents had pensions and different things along that. They're viewing Social Security as their safe money, and their IRAs or non-qualified accounts as, I'm already taking risks there, so why don't I just, keep taking my risks there and then keep my Social Security as his pension and just get it in my hands as fast as possible and live my life. And I know that's my payment, and I'll take my risk over here still.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that one thing that our profession really has not done a good job on, and it's not Social Security planning, it's overall lifetime tax planning.
Sure.
And how that Social Security decision gets impacted by that. Sometimes they make that decision before they're here.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's too late to help them. We do know that we're 17 years out from the financial crisis, and unfortunately, a lot of folks were forced to retire then.
Sure.
Because there was a lot of job loss, and they said, well, I'm 62, I lost my job, I'm just going to start Social Security. That seems to have fallen by the wayside, but folks will say, I'm going to retire, I'm going to start my Social Security, and then I'm going to seek help. And I'm going to find a financial advisor to help me with my rollover, to help me with what I do with my retirement plans, how should I be invested, instead of doing it the opposite way.
Yeah.
And saying, before I make a Social Security decision, how does all of this work together?
Yeah, because to your point, like, so say we had a conversation with someone in 2007, and we're like, hey, delay your Social Security. We're gonna pull from your investment accounts first, and they agreed to do it. And then you had a market fallout of 2008. Every advisor in the country is going to go, all right, to help your portfolio here, we're going to take less distributions from your portfolio. We're going to take Social Security because your Social Security is not affected by the market. And you put it into perspective today, like, we've had some pretty favorable market years. Right now it may be smart to do the opposite and pull a little bit from your portfolio. And say we get some tough waters ahead or something like that. That's when we'll start either, if you have annuity payments, use
Right.
those, or Social Security, or complement it. But you should have that conversation first before you just go, I'm gonna take it, and then no one's gonna stop me.
Well, and what we know and what 23 years in this profession has taught me is money decisions, not just investment decisions, are made with two emotions: greed and fear.
Yeah.
It's not wrong. They have kind of a negative connotation, but greed can be a protective, and fear, or I'm sorry, fear is a protective mechanism that maybe stops you from making the wrong decision. In greed, you're trying to maximize return, maximize income. And I think what happens is there's twofold when looking at Social Security, and it's different than company pensions maybe used to be. One, Social Security is our money.
Yeah.
We've made those contributions. If you work for a company, they've matched your contributions to Social Security, but that money has come from our paycheck and gone into the Social Security system. And the attitude is, I want to make sure I get that money back. And I want to get that money back as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. Not as optimally as possible, but as quickly as possible. And then I think the fear mechanism comes into play is there's always a lot of discussion around how much longer can Social Security last.
And that's the number one question. I feel like every advisor's been asked that
specifically,
question at some point.
Well, and especially my age, I'm I'm a young Gen Xer. And I know our generation we're suspect.
Yeah.
We're not that confident that we're going to be getting that money out.
My generation, Gen Z's worse. We're like, yeah, we're not getting it. We'll figure it out.
Thanks for the loan. Thanks for the pension. But,
yeah.
And I think that plays into it. I'm going to start claiming so that if the well dries up, I've already gotten some money out, or I'm already getting my money out before they make a change to pay structure or delay that even longer. So I don't think that should be lost on this conversation. And even though on paper, on a spreadsheet, in a financial plan, we know utilizing that time from when you retire until age 70 can be very, very useful from a tax planning perspective.
Sure.
That delay every year, I'm going to tell you, it causes folks some concern. Should I have started it? Should I wait? Social Security gives you a pretty nice pay raise if you wait.
Yeah.
8%
It's
a year from
average, right?
Yeah, from full retirement to age 70, they give you 8%. But I think that is the ultimate reason. And should they be concerned? That's not really up for us to be determining.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks in Washington that we'll let them debate that as to the viability and the safety of Social Security. But I do think that these decisions should be done in order, not necessarily I've retired, I've started Social Security, now how should I invest? It should all be done leading up to that date when you tell your employer, take this job and shove it.
Yeah.
I'm done, and have your plan mapped out. And that starts 10 years before you retire.
Yeah. And like you said, if your goal is to get the money back to you as quick as possible too, sometimes individuals just take it and end up getting it taxed a ton. I mean, everyone, if you follow a financial plan right, you're probably going to end up getting your Social Security taxed a little bit. But a lot of people just take it and get it taxed so hard up front while we're trying to make certain moves. But even away from that, if I go back in time, I want to ask an 80-year-old advisor, like, was this conversation happening 60 years ago? And has the same conversation just continued to be on? Is it just a fear that started since Social Security was a thing? And is it just something that keeps getting passed on generation to generation? Because I know growing up, I've heard my parents and even my grandparents say the same thing when they were retiring, that, hey, I just want my Social Security, get it in my hands. I'm good. I'm retired. But I wonder how long that conversation that the trust fund's going to run out, or how long has that conversation been happening?
That's a great question. I mean, 23 years the conversation's been going on that folks did not trust the legitimacy of Social Security. Mm-hmm. I do know that prior to us being on the fiduciary standard, there was a lot less Social Security planning
Yeah.
because, I mean, let's face it, if you weren't taking income from our investment products, we were making more money.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, take Social Security, leave those
fantastic point, yeah.
leave those investments alone because we weren't on a fiduciary standard. So, now being on the better part of a decade on the fiduciary standard, we're seeing the software get better, the planning strategies improve. I know over the 25 years of my career, how I've evolved as an advisor has gotten much, much better because in my rear view mirror is that go sell financial products. Now it is we have to do what's best in the best interest of our clients. And ideally, if they're seeing us prior to a Social Security decision, we're able to, at the very least, get them the data.
Yeah.
Now, the data doesn't necessarily mean that's the decision they're going to make.
Yeah.
Because that fear is always there. What if it goes away? Or what if, and I think the bigger fear than what if it goes away is what if I go away before I've gotten everything out of Social Security?
Sure.
And listen, if we knew when we were going to pass away, financial planning would be so much easier. But we know that it's not.
Well, I think one thing people discount too, and you don't know what you don't know unless you ask, right? Which comes back to us, is that, so say it's you and a spouse, when you pass away or one of you passes away, the higher Social Security benefit travels, right? So if you both claim instantly, even claiming at a different time can give you opportunity, right? Because that last spouse that's surviving will benefit from that because it travels with them. So if you were the higher income spouse over the course of your lifetime, by delaying Social Security, you can benefit your spouse in a time of need where, maybe they're not as savvy with money or if they weren't using an advisor or whatever it was, their Social Security payment's not as big. You delaying that payment and increasing that payment will eventually, the surviving spouse's payment will be the biggest, and you can help them out.
It's almost like life insurance. I mean, it gives you an element of I guess the best analogy that I've heard about Social Security is longevity insurance.
Sure.
Now, it's expensive insurance because we paid over a lifetime into that policy, but that's the best way to put it. And we know it's a fact. We're living longer.
Yeah.
We know more about medicine. We know more about our bodies. We know more about health, and that is causing us to live longer. And that longevity insurance is important.
Yeah, and I think the break-even age, when we do it, it's a little bit different for everybody. I think it's normally about 84. I could be off a year. It's hard to think about it on the fly, but I think it's 84. And I would like to know what clients think. Like, a lot of them are just like, I'm not going to have to worry about that. And I'm like, well, look at how good medicine's getting.
Sure.
Like, look at all the innovation. Look how different things are changing. We're investing.
It's almost as if, because family health history becomes important, but is it?
Yeah, it's been so different now.
Right.
You know?
My grandparents they didn't know what we know about taking care of ourselves. They didn't have the internet at their fingertips to be able to research a diet for longevity. They didn't have influencers talking about longevity. They didn't have the medicine and the technological advancements with healthcare.
Yeah.
So, and my grandparents lived into their 80s and 90s. I had a great grandmother that lived to 101.
Yeah.
So
think about the money she left on the table. Probably,
right. I have longevity in my genes, and is 101 reasonable?
Yeah.
Do I need to be planning to 121?
Yeah.
Because of the advancements in science and medicine and knowledge.
But with that story, all it takes is one coworker passing away early, and that whole mindset, everything you just said about that employee's mind gone.
Yep,
they're taking it right now.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one story can disrupt, your story,
all that family history, or all the what we know about medicine, and everything. So, I think this is some great stuff to discuss. I think it's important for folks to understand that prior to making a Social Security decision, there's a lot that needs to be analyzed and given to them so that they're at least making a decision with all of the information. That's the best we can do as advisors. That's the best we can do as consumers.
Sure.
We buy a car with a lot of information. We buy houses with a lot of information. We update our cell phone plans with every bit of information.
Yeah.
We need to be taking that attitude to when it comes to a Social Security decision and making that information or making that decision with all of the information available.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right. So I think that was a great conversation. I think this is going to be something that with all kinds of financial topics, having us talk about, agree, disagree, speak from a lot of experience and knowledge is going to be important and helpful for folks that are viewing this, and hopefully get them on the right path to making the right decisions or helping them make decisions with all of the information.
Agreed. Because if clients don't understand it, they're not going to do it. So the more we can educate,
Yeah.
the better off they'll be long run, and maybe we'll change this bell curve and start getting more money in people's pockets.
Yeah, I agree. If you enjoyed this episode of Debating Your Dollars, and there are any other topics that you would like to hear Niko and I discuss, please list them in the comments below, and we'll be sure to take them into consideration.